How you doing? This is Corky. I'm doing Jimi Hendrix Concept of the Electric Church. This is going to freak some people out. Already has. I was invited, though, to a theology conference several years ago to present a paper on this topic of Jimi Hendrix Concept of the Electric Church. And it was going to be in Seattle, Washington, which is Jimmy's home. I decided not to do that simply because there wasn't enough coherent sources of Jimi Hendrix talking on the subject to use for sources in an academic setting. So um, Hendrix is more of a jive talker like Little Richard, uh, which is understandable. And I like hearing that. I think I'm a jive talker. Um, we talked about the informal cooperative of musicians. You know, this really answers all of your questions about outreach. Because so many times, both in the religious world and the entertainment world, um, they're drawing a sharp line at the end of the stage or the end of the platform um, to separate the formal presentation of music or worship or whatever from the people that are out in the audience, congregation, whatever you want to say. Well, in our concept of the electric church, we're talking about bringing everybody together uh, to participate. You become more inclusive. This is more the African American way. Uh, in the African American church, the chances of there being an unsaved nephew on the bass is higher than it is in the white church. Because the white church has, you know, particularly performance standards for, everybody on the stage has got to be living right and so forth like that. And I'm certainly not uh, saying that we need to look for the worst people uh, to be up front, but up front is your problem. Up front was not Jimi Hendrix's problem. And in this concept, the idea is that we are all together. It's a circle. It's more of a native idea rather than anybody being up front, and rather than there being a requirement for behavior of any person that is participating. This can be for everyone, and that's a really revolutionary concept for churches because they're so locked into this formal presentation and come see us business rather than the go and the send and the outreach. So this speaks to that desire. Informal cooperative of musicians performing more exploratory music. Exploratory music. This means there's going to be improvisation. This means there's going to be um, spontaneity. This is a jam session. This is jazz music. Um, and we would probably give reference here to probably James Cone's Spirituals in the Blues or Harvey Cox Fire from Heaven, where the music that's getting ready to happen will happen, and it will never happen exactly that way again. This is why the group The Grateful Dead have an ocean of bootleg tapes or recordings or MP3s, and that every concert is unique because the people that are there, they believe, transform the artists as the artist is transforming them. So we're all in this thing together. It's happening in the old sense of the word. But it's exploratory music. We're looking to learn things now rather than a million practice sessions, uh, nailing down the arranged music that is on notation or chord sheets or whatever. This thing can go anywhere, and this is how we do music among people with disabilities. Is we follow them, we support them. They don't support us. They don't come to hear us. And out of 100 nursing home volunteers in Cleveland, Tennessee, I was the only one that really, out of 100, I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying the rest of them got up and performed something when they came to visit the residents in the nursing home. And in mine, the nursing home residents themselves in their wheelchairs and so forth, walkers, were able to create a dance party as well as I did. This is a concept that we need to have, and it's the way I try to build musicians, particularly guitar players, in my videos, is to teach them to play socially, learn how to go into a room where there's a bunch of people doing music, and how to contribute to that, and how to be creative within that. An informal cooperative of musicians performing more exploratory music in non-traditional settings. Okay, so when we're talking about exploratory music, this is a exploration on the ground at the moment. It'll never be this way again. It's never been this way before. That's very Pentecostal. So that when you attend the Pentecostal church, ideally in the classic sense of Pentecostal, you don't know if the preacher's going to preach or not. Preacher might not preach. Choir might get to singing. People might move toward the altar for prayer, and the pastor may stick his sermon back in his pocket. Or something else might happen. And it might lead on to other activities, other events. They may have a Jericho march. Before the service is over, all the participants may get up and march around the room to celebrate the idea of a certain spiritual victory or progress. So this is exploratory. And, I understand the concept of recorded music being, orderly and done so that the final recording, the mastered recording, ends up being like a manuscript. It's the song the way it is built, not necessarily every way it could go. But over my lifetime, I have pretty much preferred live albums to listen to, live recordings, because they're much more dynamic and much more exploratory. You see the musicians go in different directions that they normally wouldn't have gone. So exploratory music. I'm going to stop right there, and we're going to pick up the settings next in the concept of Jimi Hendrix, the Electric Church. Please click subscribe and like to my videos. I'd appreciate it. See you then.